YouTube, Awesome Rider here. Welcome to my review for Kamen Rider Revice episode 22? It's either 22 or 21. I always forget. As soon as I get to filming, I always get self-conscious about, wait, what was the number? But the number will be right in the description. This was kind of a busy episode to a degree. We introduced kind of this next big storyline, a bunch of other little tidbits going on while also being wrapped in kind of a story of the week thing. Because we're dealing with the aftermath of all the stuff with demons and the events that went down in the last few episodes. But we also introduced a story of the week where Iki and Vice are tasked with helping these people that have their comedians or their comedian duos targeted. I mean, outside of the way that it propped up the main storyline, I'll be honest, I didn't care that much about anything that was going on in regards to the filler characters of the week. I almost kind of tuned it out. Because Revice has been so good lately with the serialized stuff, I almost forgot what it was like to have an of the week stuff going on. And I'm like, oh, we're doing this again? I thought we were past that. So outside of it being a vehicle for this main story and enhancing the sort of bond between Iki and Vice and sort of highlighting that, I didn't really care much about what was going on there. They're just kind of trying to figure out who's doing this, and they have false subjects at one point, or false suspects at one point. And I did like how, like I said, it enhanced sort of foreshadowing, I guess, or whatever, about a bond between a duo, and Iki and Vice are I'm sure the best is yet to come for us, kind of foreshadowing that they're going to be going through this little bit of a dark period here at the end of the episode. But while you have that going on, we'll kind of circle back to that in a minute. There's all kinds of little things going on throughout the episode. You have Daiji sort of struggling with the responsibility he's having to take on now in his place in the organization now that Demons has been killed. You have Sergio kind of talking to Aguilera, and she's like, well, how can you help me now that you can't transform, you don't have powers? And so he winds up getting help from Sakura, and he's going to be staying with them or getting help from them, and you have that going on. And then speaking of Aguilera, she's trying to make an alliance with Oteka, and then you have George showing up to give him the Bata, transforms him into the 0-1 form, which I'm going to presume was from the movie, unless I forgot about something. But the movies are out of sync here, and I usually don't watch the Toku movies in recent years anyway. But there was just a lot of little things going on. You have this central of the week plot, but leading to this bigger next main story for Revice in general. But then amongst it, you have all these other little things going on, which were neat little tidbits, but it made things feel a little bit busy to a certain degree. Speaking of that Bata form, when we get to the first fight of the episode with the monsters of the week, when they think they found their suspects, they fight, and they use first the Forze form, which again, I just want to highlight that I appreciate that they haven't forgotten about the really coolly designed ability forms, even though we've been introducing main forms, and continue to introduce main forms. But then they wind up using the 0-1 form, which I really like. I think that it falls very much in line with what I like about the ability forms. I definitely like the sort of individual forms based on past writers, which sounds funny for me, because it's not about them being based on past writers, but I definitely like those more than the main forms so far. I like them all, but I just think there's something really creative about the way they've done these, and I really like that. Then, near the end of the episode, in between the first fight and the last fight of the episode with Monsters of the Week, we have this other visitor who shows up to give Iki another stamp. It's we're not selling enough toys. We have really terrible pacing problems with this, so we got to give this to you now. Because this stamp is going to help you with the problems Vice has been having lately. And I'll have to say, I really do like the incorporation of the stamp gimmick with the idea of a rolling stamp. I think that's really clever. That being said, in terms of just the exterior of the stamp, I don't like the little paint splotches on it. It just, I don't know, I hate to say this, but it looks too kiddie. I know it's a kid's show, but I think it just, for me, it doesn't fit with the aesthetics of the other devices. It almost looks like it's from Splatoon or something. He gives that to him, and when they get to the final fight, Vice starts having problems, so Iki uses the stamp, and this is clearly leading to one of those ones which I knew was going to happen from the second we got the series announced, that there was going to be a form that would ultimately fuse them. For now, it turns Vice into this goop, and they transform together, and it creates this hybrid gray looking form, which is pretty cool looking. But it actually doesn't hybridize them right here. It's just Vice taking over. It's almost I guess it's kind of a different situation because there's two of them side by side and not, together, but it kind of reminds me of Fang Joker, where Iki's the primary character, but then this is where Vice gets to just be the writer, and it kind of reminded me of Fang Joker. But the whole drama is, it's just Vice driving, and it's not oh, it's just him driving for this fight. When he de-transforms, it's just Vice, and they're effectively swapping places with Vice effectively as the main person, Revi as the alter. Next week we see him in a spirit form, so I think that's kind of a cool twist. And it made for a cool debut because it kind of amped up Vice. Vice always has fun antics, but he was really badass in this fight, and had this kind of menacing stuff to him, kind of making you worry about Vice's motivations. But it was a really great debut of this, both in terms of like being a cool debut of a form, Vice just being cool, it was a cool fight, but also a cool debut of this storyline. And even though I have some mixed thoughts on the pacing at which they introduced these forms, I do like that they've all been tied to the storyline and development of the characters, so it's not just like here. Yeah, it was a good end. I would say for this episode, though, it was a 3 out of 5 for me. Not that it was bad or anything, I just felt it was a little bit mixed, a little bit busy, a little bit disjointed. I like that there's lots of little things going on in regards to the stories with Sakura and Aguilera and Sergio and stuff, but there's just something about the way it was paced with the story of the week leading to the main story and all these other things happening that felt a little disjointed for me. And I'll be honest, I feel like this was the most clunkily rushed of the main forms. Even though there's a good story behind it and a little bit of build-up, it felt very much just like, here, we gotta get this toy out. We almost forgot. I think it's because we kind of pulled focus to demons for the last couple weeks, and I don't know, it just felt like it could have been eased into better. I think it didn't help that we also introduced the 0-1 form. I know it was just kind of a one-off here, this was from the movie or whatever, but it made it feel clunky. It's like, could you not have paced that out? Could we not have done this episode and been like, hey look, the 0-1 form, and then waited? Like, it's just, I know that they have this system of the way they sell toys, but I just so strongly feel that they could calibrate this and still have their good toy selling system without making the show pacing off, because they have so many episodes. You have so many episodes and you always smush it together. Whatever. I just felt it was a little bit clunkily done. Even though it's not like completely hindering my enjoyment of the show where I think it's bad, it just bothers me on a conceptual level. I'm like, if you just tweaked this, the smoothness of the pace could feel better. But what did you guys think of it? What did you guys think about the pacing? What do you think of the new form and storyline? Let me know in the comments as always. Until next time, like, comment, subscribe, and climb the steps and ring that bell so you can get notifications for my videos. Dawson Rider, signing out.